Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Haelan Nurse Chronicles. I'm your host, Dr. Lorre Laws. I am a nurse and I'm a nurse trauma burnout expert who is bringing forth the evidence and an evidence-based framework to guide nurses worldwide in their recovery from nurse-specific traumatization and burnout. I'm so glad that you're with us today. And I want to bring to our attention today a case study from a fellow nurse educator with whom I'm associated with in my community. This nurse has had a brilliant career, teaching nurses, nurturing them, even being available to them in the years as they transition into practice, the most vulnerable time for most nurses, and where we are losing 25% or more of our nurses currently. And so I have had the good pleasure of working with, her name is Ellen, and she is a delightful human being. And I'm just so grateful that our paths crossed. And she sent an email to me that is just so beautiful. And I want to share it as a therapeutic moment for all of us because it speaks to what so many, and by many, I mean millions of nurses are experiencing today. We've been working together, and Ellen is immersed in my work and has attended webinars and will be supporting the academy. And I'm just so excited for all that she's doing to support nurses. Our walks are similarly aligned. And so the email reads, I have been healing today. I got together with one of my previous students who is a new nurse. Wow, I have been so angry, sad, and disappointed about the way she is being treated at work. And I'm just going to pause there because I too am a nurse educator. I work in a BSN program with an integrative health focus where we do our very best. I mean, we do such a good job. I know every nurse educator out there is doing such amazing work in preparing each generation of nurses that enters the profession. And there's also an element of that feels like we're sending lambs to slaughter. It doesn't feel good knowing, and that's part of what my work is to build a better bridge from new grad to transition to practice nurse to early career nurse so that we can really support them and help them learn how to insulate themselves, help them to learn the language of their nervous system so they can insulate themselves from all the toxic and harsh work conditions and all of the avoidable nurse-specific traumatization that they are exposed to. And it's just bowling them over. And they're saying no. They're saying no, I'm not doing this. And they're going and doing something else, even though they have probably huge student loan debts. And but it's not safe nor is it healthy, especially for the youngest nurses coming in. And so it's important that we all do our part to support them, as I know Ellen has done. She says, anyway, I've been doing some healing work and grieving about the way I have been treated in my past jobs. Thank you for waking me up. So let me just hold Ellen and the new graduate nurse and all nurses across the globe who are experiencing the same thing. It is time for us to wake up. The nursing crisis is so avoidable. And it's not in the system's best interest to fix it because they're interested in profits, right? And they have to return and profits to their shareholders. And so there are corporate and mega conglomerate interests that are making billions with the B of money off of what is happening in healthcare today, and largely as due to the overworking and stretching nurses so thin that they're now snapping and breaking. And by the end of this decade, the world will have just over half of the number of nurses it needs. So those who are left are going to be stretched to or beyond their capacity. So I think we're all grieving. I think we're all mourning. And I think that it's really time for us to wake up to what is really happening. And it is the systematic oppression and traumatization of nurses. And there is a pathway out, and there is hope. And I talked in the last episode about my work, which was 6 years of research and 6 figures of my own money to bring it forward. So it was not in any way diluted by an external interest, by a grant, by anything. Like I can bring you to your living room the research that I developed, that I conducted over across 4 disciplines, 5 disciplines, I do believe, 4 or 5. They're all together in my brain right now. And a 5-step evidence-based framework called the Your Innate Care Plan. For within each of us, each human, each nurse, we each have our own lived experiences, our own um, traumas that we've been exposed to or experienced that are in varying degrees of unhealedness, and we embody those. And the Your Innate Care Plan really looks to leverage each nurse's unique, individual, innate capacity for healing. And we leverage that. We leverage that so that we can use the framework, which is 3A plus B leads to 3 Rs. And again, just to refresh, the 3 As are the internal, nurturing our nervous system so that we have a strong foundation, so that all the self-care we do on top of that stays in place instead of it just keeps collapsing and collapsing, right? That's not optimally effective because we are exposed to far more trauma than is prudent. Right down to our mitochondria are saying we can't keep up with this. Nurses are leaving. We have presenteeism, absenteeism, and a host of other challenges, none of which are a nurse's fault, all of which are avoidable, nurse-specific trauma exposures, secondary to healthcare system inadequacies. Right. So here we are. So the Your Innate Care Plan. If you say it really fast, it sounds like urinate. That's not what I'm saying. Your Innate Care Plan, YICP. I don't know. I just heard it for the first time like that. Is the 3 As, which are the foundation, our nervous system nurturance, which is awareness, attending, and alignment. And then we add to that in the balance, the B component, all things that are self-care, health, and wellness practices, right? In all our wellness domains. And that leads us to the 3 Rs, which is where we want to be. We want to be regulated. The first R is regulated in our nervous systems. We want to be reconnected within ourselves because we get internally fractured, literally internally fractured in terms of dissonance between our nervous system and suboptimal coherence in our left and right hemispheres, all of which I discuss in my book in Academy. And then the second R is reconnected within ourselves and with one another. That's the second R I just said. And then the third R is restoring our healer's heart, or our why for nursing. Right. And so as we step into the awareness of what has really happened and is happening to us, as we look through the lens of polyvagal theory, and we look through the lens of Dr. Karen Foley's middle range theory for nurse-specific traumatization, which is hot off the press. And if we start looking, we can really see evidence, a landslide of evidence that nurses are being systematically traumatized, abused, and oppressed. All right. And when we step into that awareness, as Ellen writes, it can be a little overwhelming. It can be a lot disheartening. And as we step into the emotions of it, there is an element of grieving and mourning. And so I am wrapping my heart around Ellen's and all nurses who have um, been mistreated in their professional roles in any way. And as you step into the awareness of what has happened to you, because I went through a big grieving process myself, it was, um, I called it a tsunami. That's what it felt like. It was when I started just realizing in all of the ways that I had been professionally traumatized, not to mention the harsh traumatizations that I experienced in my personal life as most humans do. So I just want to extend just all the love and support. And I wanted to well, I'm going to read a passage from my book. So here comes the shameless plug. So my book is Nursing Our Healer's Heart. It's a recovery guide for nurse trauma and burnout. It's available wherever books are sold. And I want to drop a nugget, plant a seed, really. And I'm on page 33 of the book, where as we step into the awareness of all that has happened, as we start to mourn and grieve, and go through maybe some of the stages of grieving. And well, I don't talk about Kubler-Ross's stages of grieving in my book. I used Morrison Penrod's framework, which is similar, but I think more encompassing about the big picture of where we are in that grieving process and what the phases are of what we go through as we start to become aware of all that has happened to us and really start leaning into the healing that is before us. And so I have what I call the thriving in practice and in life. It's a seed planting exercise. So I'm going to read this passage, and um, it's for us to not only understand all that's happened to us, but plant seeds for where we are going. We do not need to stay stuck in this. We do not need to remain broken. We do not need to remain traumatized. We do not need to be shackled or oppressed in any kind of way, metaphorically and figuratively speaking. Uh, there is a pathway out. There is hope. There is the possibility to thrive in practice and in life. And so it starts with planting those seeds. So with the grief, there's a part of grief. The suffering part of grief is the emotional work. And that is actually a process of repair, which I'm not going to go into in this podcast, but it's part of it's all in the book. And in our academy, we work through it too. And so suffering, this grieving process, it's a process of repair. And so while we're in there, let us plant the seeds that we can sow towards our neuroplasticity as we start to rewire the brain and recover from nerve-specific traumatization. So I know that's a lot, but that's kind of it's kind of a big arc in where we are and leading to where we're going. So here goes the passage that I will read. Imagine the unlimited potential and possibilities that could emerge if you nurtured and nourished yourself with the same tender care that you would a newborn, a puppy, a kitten, or a seedling. What if you nourished every aspect of your body-mind essence with life-supporting perceptions, thoughts, decisions, feelings, behaviors, and relationships? So close your eyes if that feels comfortable for you, and take a moment to just gently explore these possibilities. In your mind's eye, use your senses to tenderly imagine how you, in body mind essence, would respond to being so authentically and genuinely nurtured and nourished. Your mind will probably rush in and tell you that it's not possible and there's no way or no time. If that happens, thank your mind for producing whatever thoughts emerge and then release them. Release them so they may pass you by like harmless clouds in the sky. Just take a moment. Take a moment to be with yourself and the possibilities of nurturing and nourishing yourself with others to the fullest and most loving sense of the word. Healing is. So plant those seeds. Plant those seeds. Be with this. What thrive seeds would you like to plant in your life, in your practice? What does it look like? Your mind's going to rush in and tell you it's not possible and it can't be done. We're just going to let those thoughts, those conditioned thoughts, the programming, the narratives, the tapes, let them play. Just let them float by like the clouds. You don't have to believe every thought you think. I can't remember. That's not my quote. That's a quote from someone. Oh, and I don't recall offhand whose that is, but if I come across it, I'll look for it. If I come across it, I'll put it in the show notes. And really just lean into the possibility of what thriving in practice feels like for you. See it in your mind's eye. What are the sounds you hear? What scents, odors, aromas? What are you smelling? Like really let the brain start to get some neurons and synapses firing around this, right? Because this is the very, very beginning of what we're doing at the end of the book and at the end of the academy is really leveraging the power of neuroplasticity. So we're just planting a seed and just giving our nervous system and our brain cells just a little time to, see and hear and smell and feel and even imagine what the touch might be like. And again, as those negative tapes and programming telling you it's not possible comes in, you just let them float by like clouds in the sky and really stay connected with the possibility that healing is possible. Because the reality is healing is possible. It is possible to insulate yourself from the broken healthcare system. It is possible to insulate yourself from difficult colleagues, short staffing, and harsh working conditions. It is possible to thrive in practice and in life. So your homework, not that this is really homework, but I would invite each of you to stay with that for a week, a couple times each day. Just, you're driving in the car, you're unloading groceries. This doesn't have to be a big thing that you have to disrupt your life over. Just shift your attention, shift your awareness from survival mode into what thrive mode might look, feel, and be for you. So thank you, Ellen, so much for all that you have done for our profession and for nurses in our community and beyond. And thank you to my listeners for tuning in. Thank you from the bottom of my healer's heart to yours. Thank you for the important work that you are doing. And until next time, plant those seeds of thriving. Plant as many of them as you can, because we will continue to nurture and nourish those seeds as we go through our time together. So until next time, thank you for the important work that you do. Thank you for who you are at your core, at your essence. Namaste.